Constitution very boldly proclaims that India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. And this declaration carries the historical significance because it very firmly establishes the identity of our country and our nation. Now, since the Indian Constitution, as you know, we are aware that it came into existence in 1950. Now, ever since then, we have officially been using both India and Bharat, right? So this kind of a the dual nomenclature reflects the kind of rich cultural diversity as a nation that we have. And when we use the term India or Bharat, there should not be any problem, because Bharat also offers some kind of the cultural past that we have, and the kind of cultural identity that we carry when we are living in India. Now, when we say that when actually did this term Bharat came into use, roughly speaking, we have we can trace some three origins. There are many other references, but I will just highlight three major references from the past. The first mention actually comes from the text Rig Veda. And in the Rig Veda, there is a mention of a war which is being fought between 10 powerful tribes who had plotted to overthrow the king Sudas, who actually belonged to the Bharat tribe. Now, this battle actually had taken place. It is mentioned that it had taken place on the banks of the river Ravi in Punjab. And in the battle, Sudas had actually won the battle, and he had been able to establish his rulership in all these territories which belonged to the 10 tribes who were fighting the battle. Now, this actually led to the huge expansion of Sudas territory, and the people then started identifying themselves with the territory of Sudas, that is the territory of the Bharat tribe. And then the Bharat term has for the first time been used in the Rig Veda. So it's actually, if you look at the literal meaning of Bharatvarsh, it's actually the land of the Bharatas. Now, the second major reference comes from the Mahabharata, which actually refers to a legendary King Bharat who was ruling in central and northern India. And then the third reference comes from the Purana texts and ancient texts such as the description of Bharatavarsha. It is found in the Vishnu Puran, which provides some of the earliest depiction of Bharatavarsha. In fact, many of the Puranas refer to Bharatavarsha, and they give us an insight into the historical and cultural understanding of the region Bharat. There is a shlok in the Vishnu Purana which reads like Uttaram Yat Samudrasya Himadreshchaiva Dakshinam Varsham Tad Bharatam Nam Bharati Yatra Santati. Now, this means that on the north of the sea and the south of the Himalayas belongs this land of the Bharata, where the Bharat people live. Now, this obviously suggests that the the Vishnu Purana, if we read Vishnu Purana, it not only talks about the culturally the cultural Indians, the cultural Bharatas, but also the, it tells us about the geographical kind of a geographical boundary of the Bharatas. Now, the critics would argue that the colonial administration had actually used the term or the concept of, they had used the concept of Bharatavarsha with a very important strategic region, because it was used by the colonial British government because they wanted to connect it with the ancient Indian sacred concept, because they wanted to portray India as a very unified and centrally oriented state. Now, obviously, when they portrayed India as Bharatavarsha, it has actually given the notion of modern notion of Indian state to the Indians. So there is, in fact, if we say that it is the British who had given us this modern concept of a nation state, it is very true, because they colonized the whole of India. They created a geographical boundary of India, and then this is what India inherited from them. But India was already a culturally unified state. Obviously, we had a very diversified culture, but then people identified themselves with the entire territory, as we can find in mention in the Vishnu Purana. Now, the ancient understanding of Bharatvarsh obviously differs very significantly from the modern concept of the nation state, what the Europeans brought in here, and which now we follow. So, in ancient times, we can say that India was more of a cultural nation. It was characterized by some kind of shared traditions. We had shared languages and beliefs, but then we had some kind of a cultural identity. So people identified themselves to this entire stretch of land, which was from the Himalayas down to the southern sea. Now, this historical identity which is rooted in many of the Purana texts, is a kind of a cultural unity that of the many of the historians talk about. But if you speak to a historian would also tell you that it is some kind of an oversimplification of the rich diversity that India had, and India's past had, because we over the period of many centuries, different kinds of people had migrated, settled, and remained in India, and that is why we had such a huge cultural diversity. So so they would say that to call this as Bharatavarsha would be an oversimplification of the diversified India. But I think as the constitution provides this this basis to us, I think there should not be any harm if we use it interchangeably, India or Bharat.